Yo guys, what's up? I'm here in the design district. I'm here with DB. I'm about to chop up BTC for you guys. This isn't my usual setup, so bear with me. I have some levels painted already. I've already explained all my analysis on Twitter, in the Discord especially. Let's get into it. This is how things are looking here. We had this range break on the daily, still 2.5 hours left until the close. If we close above 70.7 is what I'm looking at here, with the low being 62.4, I think that there's a good reason to believe that any pullback is worth buying for a push past the supply level that I even have here on the daily to the left. So I'm thinking we're going to retest the previous structure at around 80,000. That would be a good spot to begin to sort of hedge here. So you can see on the weekly, we are holding that order block that we usually look at. I'll show you guys that here as well. One of our usual levels that we paint. And then we also have the 69K 2021 Psycho Top Pivot that we have been playing. And I'll say we played it very well. And one last level right over here. These are going to be these highs over here that rejected us before we made that 125K all-time high top. And you see where we're at now, guys. It's all making sense. So now things are happening at resistance. We want to see how things go. Like I said, that one-day closure above would be nice, but we have resistance right overhead as well. That being said, once we do start to see these strong closures, I want to see a push into this region right here. So this would be this structure low, the structure low that broke us aggressively into the lows that we've seen for the last couple of weeks. I think that we could see a push up there, and then I'll rinse off into maybe some fresh lows. And then I could see something like this dragging us into the next potential leg. So that's what I see happening for BTC.
What's up, guys? DB here. Let's get straight into it, looking at BTC on higher time frames, in this case on the 2-day, because it obviously helps a lot with macro navigation in times when there's war FUD and war tensions. On the 2-day, respectively, the 1-day and the 3-day doesn't really matter. What we currently are seeing is a retest of range highs of our first resistance box that we have been discussing. We're currently also testing the 2-day 21 EMA, which is happening for the first time since the breakdown from the 90K area. Reclaim the zone, and I'm looking for a pump all the way to April 2025 lows, where we also have the 3-day 21 EMA sitting. So currently facing some resistance, which is why I'm not as interested in new long positions. Gonna wait for a pullback maybe towards the lower end of this box for some scalps. What I also will be looking at in the next few days/weeks is whether we can form another bear flag like we did recently before the breakdown. So this is still something that could happen. We certainly need a bit more price action to develop to see if this is actually possible, but this is something I will be monitoring as well. Looking at the S&P 500, the initial reaction on the war FUD has been pretty positive, but I still remain skeptical on the stock markets, not only the S&P 500, but Nasdaq and Russell 2000 as well. Given that we did see a few warning signals recently, and given that historically speaking, we have always seen a midterm election dumps, I still think that is something that can happen later this year. I'm interested in the 6,500 zone, and especially in the 6,200 to 6,000 zone, which is the previous all-time high area. I think BTC SPX is also something we need to be watching, which is also why I discussed BTC and SPX and now looking at them in a single index. BTC has been outperforming the S&P 500 in the last 2-3 days, but on the greater scheme of things, it remains in a strong macro downtrend. Here also testing our resistance zone and the 2-day 21 EMA, which is something to consider, which is certainly also an area where you can take some profits on some long scalps. Ultimately, I do expect this index to be trading a bit lower this year. Whether we reject from here or go a bit higher remains to be seen, but I think this is in a macro downtrend, and I'll treat it as such in the next few weeks and months. One thing that is going to matter as well is the dollar, which has been showing some strength due to war tensions, with a nice breakout here on the 1 day, currently retesting this area. And I think it can also go back to the 100-101 area, which still needs to be reclaimed on the greater scheme of things. I think this will matter a lot because it does influence the hedging behavior of investors. If investors expect the dollar to remain strong, they are less motivated to be rotating into liquid assets, and if they expect the dollar to remain weak, they hedge against that weakness, they hedge against that devaluation, and this leads to certain asset categories pumping. On the greater scheme of things, the 100 area is what still will determine whether the DXY index can get into a higher time frame uptrend or whether it is only strong locally. So definitely something worth considering, especially since BTC DXY has also been relatively weak and in a downtrend after losing a 3-year long uptrend. We did have a bearish retest here. We're currently under some resistance, which is at April 2025 lows, which is something you need to consider as well before thinking about new long positions from current levels. Currently also trading, testing the 21 EMA on the 2 day, which adds additional confluence that we could in fact get a small rejection at this area. So overall, BTC, SPX, DXY, 3 charts that matter a lot to my macro analysis that I will be monitoring in the next few weeks. I hope you find this helpful, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video with Woods. Take care.
Thank you, DB. As usual, always on the same type of mindset when it comes to the market and so on and so forth. We killed everything as of lately. WoodsBot has been a huge help, especially when it comes to automating this slow, crabby market that you don't always want to look at. So make sure you're getting those automations because they are a giant value right now. All the links down in the description below. Good talking to you guys as always. I'll see you in the next. Peace.